Hey, you may or may not have heard, we are in the midst of planning our first ever film festival, and we could not be more excited with our promotional artwork done by Capt Cushion. And this video is sponsored by her and her artistic endeavors, and you, yes, you watching this right now, can also have Capt do your wildest dreams come to life. Click the link in the descriptions below to get in touch with her. What's going on? Welcome to Victims and Villains, a channel dedicated to talking about and educating individuals like yourselves on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I have the privilege of being a writer, podcaster, and the festival director for Horrific Hope, our very own film festival. If you guys would like a list of this year's features and shorts, along with more about what Victims and Villains does as a nonprofit, links to podcasts, our social medias, Patreon, and most importantly, our mental health resource library. Check the link in the descriptions below. This video is 6 weeks in the making. I'm excited to be talking about Pam and Tommy, the limited series that just wrapped from Hulu. Say that I recognize that even though this series did not get permission from Pamela Anderson nor the blessing of it, we are looking at this strictly on an entertainment level. Let's go ahead and start then. Through 8 episodes, this series looks at the whirlwind storm that was the infamous Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson sex tape that was released in the mid-90s. The series chronicles how this incident affected not only Pam's blooming movie career, but also at the same time how it affected Tommy's career in subsequently the sales of Motley Crue, along with how it affected their own mental health and marriage. I have to say that honestly, I am a huge fan of the biopic series. This is just a small handful of some of the titles in my collection. The thing that I truly love and admire most about biopic as a genre is the ability to disappear into someone else's life and see the world through their eyes for a few short hours and get a new appreciation for who they are as an individual, and possibly even find new stuff or new art to appreciate in the process. Rocket Man turned me into a huge Elton John fan, and Straight Outta Compton single-handedly not only made me have a better appreciation for who these guys are as artists, but also shot up Straight Outta Compton to become one of my favorite albums of all time. And usually the thing that I like and admire about this genre is the ability to kind of see what hair and wardrobe can do. Like, does it really transport you back to the era? And right off the top, that I have to say about Pam and Tommy, the thing that truly stands out above anything else that this series offers is the hair and makeup. To say that Lily James and Sebastian Stan transformed into Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee would be a massive understatement. Just the details of how an actor is dressed or how the world around them looks. It's the small details that really just kind of show that the hair and makeup and really the production design of the series is a top-notch above the rest. This scene in particular shows the Seth Rogen character walking out of a movie theater, and in the corner there's a poster there for Liar Liar. Not to mention that there are appearances by also the Motley Crue members in this, and oddly enough, a very young Third Eye Blind. These are just a couple of examples at the attention to detail that the series does incredibly well. When we're talking specifically about this era, Pamela Anderson's turn as Barbed Wire was one of the biggest stories that was coming out and one of the biggest career moves that she had done, and the series goes the extra mile and actually recreates some of the iconic scenes from this flop. I meant to say cult classic, but the box office speaks for itself. I really enjoy this film. I have a blast with it. Comment below and let me know if you do as well. Let's talk about the performances, because the performances of this series is really what makes this outside of the hair and makeup. And Lily James, whew, there are no words to describe how excellent in this series she is. Like Sebastian Stan, I talked about this in our fresh review, is a dynamite performance. Like, yes, he always shows up and always delivers. Seth Rogen's really good in this show. Nick Offerman's really good in this show. But it is Lily James that single-handedly stands out from every other performance in this series. And I'll be honest with you, in the process of watching this series from week to week to week, I hadn't seen Pamela Anderson in anything probably since I was like 12. So I really had forgotten how she was as an actress, and so I went and bought the Blu-ray of Barbed Wire. And watching Barbed Wire, and then you see her, Lily James, take on Pamela Anderson, and it is haunting. Not just in a sense of how she looks, but also in the sense of how she acts and how she delivers this character to the audience. As I previously mentioned, Sebastian Stan is another stand-up performance in this. His role as Tommy Lee is, again, it's incredible. Seth Rogen is another performance in this, but I will also say that while the world is really immersive in its storytelling and its attention to detail, Seth Rogen and Nick Offerman are the two links of this story that kind of feel like the weak link. To kind of put it in perspective, Nick Offerman as a character has a really heavy presence in the first 3 episodes of this, and then he is a glorified cameo for the rest of it. Like, there's no closure with his character. It's kind of bothersome to me because I think that Nick Offerman, for the few scenes and episodes that he is in this, he makes a really good impression and does a really marvelous job. I understand that the narrative really kind of doesn't need him, but Seth Rogen is also kind of treated the same way in this. Like, Seth Rogen is really good in this series, but you also have the caveat that he's kind of white noise almost for some of this. Really a through line for his character. Like, he's the linchpin that kind of started this phenomenon with the tape. And in some ways, you do kind of get to see how his actions affected him as an individual. For the most part of it, it just kind of feels very lackluster, for lack of a better word. I mean, this series is about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee, and yes, it does deliver on them, but also at the same time, as I said, it's an immersive world. But there are certain parts of that immersion that just kind of feel like they're left as second thought. Pacing of the series is immaculate over 8 episodes. I was really kind of scared and kind of apprehensive about how they were going to do this, and I think that they did a really good job. The first 3 episodes that Hulu drops on its premiere day was interesting. The way that they were approaching it, the way that they given Rogan his kind of own episode, and then you had kind of seen how Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee met, and then you can go into how Seth Rogen and Nick Offerman's characters kind of explode this phenomenon onto pop culture. Things that I kept in mind as I was watching this series is what I talked about in the beginning of the video, where Pamela Anderson had wanted nothing to do with the series. And quite honestly, I can't blame her. I mean, this series is literally digging up one of the worst experiences of your life. I have to say, the way that the Pamela Anderson character is written in this series is actually pretty good. It makes her very sympathetic. It makes her very compelling character. And on top of that, it brings the world through her eyes. But not only that, how women are, it also serves as a commentary for how women are treated in the industry of Hollywood. And that really makes the Pamela Anderson character very sympathetic and really allows this particular piece of media to stand out within the biopic genre. Let's run this through our Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to go ahead and give this series a 4.5 Out of 5, I thought the series was extremely well done. The hair, the costumes, the production design, all are immaculate. Performances are incredible, especially Lily James, not to mention the series is immaculately paced, but some of its more problematic elements include the use of Nick Offerman and Seth Rogen that kind of feel like forefront characters and the background characters, forefront, background. You guys have seen Pam and Tommy. All the episodes now are streaming on Hulu. What did you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. But let's talk about our mental health moment from this episode. If you guys are new to our content, mental health moment is where we will take a theme of mental health and we will pull it out to examine it and talk about it for just a few moments in hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. There's so much to pick from in this series in terms of mental health. But as I've said throughout the entire course of this video, the Pamela Anderson character really resonated with me. I thought she was written and acted exquisitely. Scenes in particular when she is trying to convey to male characters about how the whole discourse of the tape is making her feel and how it feels as a woman, and to kind of bring perspective. And one thing that I truly admire about these sequences is the fact that we don't understand, we never know what it's like to walk a mile in the shoes of another person. Be it another race, gender, or culture, sometimes it's really hard to see the world through someone else's eyes. It's hard for us to be empathetic when we don't understand the circumstances surrounding the event or the course of the mental health anguish. And sometimes that's why it's really important to just stop and listen. Listening goes a long way. Someone that's been married for 8 years, and I just want to clarify before I go any further, I am not an expert in marriage and I'm not claiming to be. Sometimes the best thing that I can do for my wife is not try and fix the situation, but simply listen. Likewise, sometimes when I am talking with people that I'm really close with and they're going through a rough time, sometimes the easiest thing and the most impactful thing that I can do is just stop and listen. Never underestimate how something as simple as listening, being present, and giving attention can be. Because honestly, sometimes it's the difference between life and death, and sometimes it is also the difference between happiness and unhappiness. And if you need it, click the links in the descriptions below and check out our resources. Check out our mental health resource library. Thanks for watching, and we may or may not be doing an episode on a full-length episode on the series, but I would love to hear from you guys. What did you guys think on the series? Let me know.